Technology never stops advancing, and these industrial beasts never stop improving. From giant chainsaws that slice up anything in their path, over to the recently designed Stratolaunch, the largest airplane in existence, buckle up for a tour of the most extreme and most costly machines ever built. A tree harvester is the true workhorse of any forestry operation. A tree harvester on legs, though, well, that's another story. The intimidating walking John Deere timberjack concept was designed for forest workers to be able to go up and down rough mountain terrain. Snow, mud, gravel, jungle, you name it, and the six-legged beast could handle it, with the ability to move forward, backwards, sideways, and diagonally, and step over obstacles. This really is the robotic bug of some people's nightmares. The aim was to create the best possible working stability while minimizing destruction of the terrain below. And it does exactly that thanks to a centralized computer system that controls all of its six-legged functionality. A basic harvester on wheels will set you back anywhere from $20,000 for a used older model to $600,000 plus for a fancy schmancy new one. But a tree harvester that can walk? Well, that would have set you back a far prettier penny had the machine actually ever progressed past the prototype phase. Whatever impressive machine that you thought would be next, forget about it, because it wouldn't even come close to the 16.7-mile-long ring of superconducting magnets that make up the Large Hadron Collider. Ironically, as the biggest machine ever built by humans to date, its purpose is to study the tiniest of things, subatomic particles. Buried 574 feet or 175 meters under the ground near Geneva, Switzerland, the Large Hadron Collider sends two high-energy particle beams traveling in opposite directions at high speeds. We're talking up to 99.99% of the speed of light. And then those particles smash violently together, all in the name of science and physics. The Large Hadron Collider took about a decade to construct, for a total cost of about $4.75 billion. Yep, billion with the B. That went towards all kinds of record-breaking features, including the 9,593 magnets, and the maintenance of the frigid operating temperatures of precisely negative 271.3 degrees Celsius. Collide that with another $1 billion per year in running costs, as well as the repairs that took place in September until November of 2009, and we're looking at a big fat check of about $13.25 billion all up. While the majority of machines don't even cast a shadow to the otherworldly size or price of the Hadron Collider, that doesn't mean that anything else should be underestimated. Ladies and gents, take a look at the marvel of human construction that is the 500-meter Aperture Spherical Telescope, or FAST for short. There's no bull here, it's exactly what the name suggests. A freaking enormous spherical telescope, 1,640 feet in diameter when you get the measuring tape out. Found over in the remote Doadang Depression in the Guizhou province of southwest China. This enormous machine took half a decade to build and a number of years to test before finally officially being declared operational on January 11th of 2020. Trust us, building the world's largest filled aperture radio telescope was no cheap feat. The telescope itself cost close to $170 million US, in addition to the $269 million in poverty relief funds and bank loans needed to relocate the former local residents. With around 4,400 individual aluminum panels and more than 2,000 mechanical arms to rotate and direct the sphere, FAST is able to detect bursts of light in space that are too faint to be perceived by other telescopes. The machine also aims to boost global efforts to spot ripples in the space-time continuum. As you can see, this thing is truly unmatched. Alright folks, from way up in the skies to deep down in the earth, allow us to introduce you to Big Bertha. She is boring, but not in the way that you think. Bertha is a tunnel boring machine, built specifically for the 1.7-mile-long Alaskan Way Viaduct Replacement Tunnel project that was put into place in Seattle, Washington. Owned by Seattle Tunnel Partners, the machine itself came with a bill of $80 million, while the entire tunnel project that she was designed for ended up edging over $223 million in total spending. Bertha's far from slender 57-foot or 17.5 meters frame weighs a massive 7,000 tons. She's 5 stories tall, 300 feet long, and is so heavy, in fact, that she has to be shipped from one work site to another. This isn't the first impressive Big Bertha, nor will it be the last. Vehicles and military weapons have been given the moniker over the years for their size, although the tunnel borer does have a specific history to its name. She honors Seattle's first female mayor, Bertha Knights Landis. Measuring 315 feet tall and 787 feet wide, or 96 meters by 240 meters for the metric system minded out there, Bagger 288 is one of the largest bucket wheel excavators in the world to have ever been built. Amazingly, since its commission in 1978, this brute of a machine is still fully operational in a German lignite open pit mine, using its 8-story tall rotor blade to scoop up to 240,000 tons of coal every single day. Built by the Krupp Company for the German mining firm Rheinbraun, Bagger 288 is a 13,500-ton leviathan capable of ripping the tops of mountains clean off without so much as a second thought. It took Krupp 4 years to build the Earth Destroyer and 5 years to design and manufacture it beforehand, chalking up an expenditure sheet in the range of $100 million. At the time of its completion in 1978, Bagger 288 superseded this giant machine, Big Muskie, as the heaviest land vehicle in the world, tilting the scales at, oh boy, 13,500 tons. Have you ever seen anything like it? In the early 1980s, a man named Umberto Eco owned a construction company in northern Italy. He had a project land on his desk that required a new kind of bulldozer, one that was bigger and more powerful than ever before. So he put his entrepreneurial skills to the test and came up with the monster dozer known as the Eco Super Dozer. Composed mostly of Caterpillar parts, the machine has an operating weight of 183 tons and needed to be powered by a pair of 8-cylinder 675 horsepower diesel engines. That's 1,350 horsepower all up, so in other words, a heck of a lot by dozer standards. With a total length of over 40 feet, this machine quickly established itself as the largest and most powerful tracked bulldozer ever made. Unfortunately, being made and being used are two different things. It was commissioned to move earth in Libya in the 1980s, but trade embargoes implemented by the UN prevented it from actually getting there. So, this behemoth never moved an inch of dirt. After years of construction and millions of dollars spent, it sits dormant. Not all of the world's most impressive machines need to have a constructive purpose. Why not just make something big and fancy and wickedly expensive just for the sake of it? That's exactly the train of thought that went through the decisive minds at an Austrian company called Migaloo Private Submersible Yachts. They went all out with their 928-foot-long M7, and that's no exaggeration. With a design inspired by the US Navy's Zumwalt-class destroyers, this unique record-breaking yacht sports a helipad, an outdoor pool, a jacuzzi, VIP suites, and a number of hangars for smaller vessels to dock. But unlike a typical yacht, which just chills on top of the water, the M7 isn't really a yacht at all, it's a submarine. Capable of diving up to 1,500 feet below the surface and cruising along at an underwater speed of 20 knots. Desperate to own one for yourself? Well, then let's hope there's a spare $2.3 billion in your bank account then. If you've got that much money to burn, then you might as well fork out a little extra for Kokomo Island, your very own private floating habitat provided by the same company. Rarely would you ever see a vehicle larger than your typical commercial airplane. The Boeing 787, for example, has an enormous wingspan of 197 feet, significantly wider than your average football field. And yet, our beloved Boeings pale in comparison to this utter gigantor of an aircraft. This is the 1,200,000-pound Stratolaunch, designed by Vulcan Aerospace, a company launched in 2015 by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen, with an astounding 385-foot wingspan, plus 6 engines, 28 wheels, and twin cabins 238 feet long each. The Stratolaunch is officially the largest aircraft in the world. But it's no commercial flyer, nor is it any sort of revolutionary fighter jet. The Stratolaunch is a mobile launch platform whose goal was to carry smaller aircrafts high into the atmosphere, up to an altitude of 35,000 feet, and then allow them to launch from the skies. Crowds flocked to the Mojave Desert for its first ever launch on April 13, 2019. 2 months later, it was for sale, and you could have owned it yourself if you had a spare $400 million. If you were on the hunt for the world's biggest saw, where would you look? How about the world's single biggest coal mine? This insane bucket wheel excavator, dubbed the Godzilla saw, hides at the Bogatyr mine near the city of Ekibastuz in Kazakhstan. The colossal contraption dwarfs anything you put next to it, towering at a height of 295 feet with a weight of over 45,000 tons. Remarkably, This $100 million giant can scoop 4,500 tons of coal every hour. And it's all thanks to its unrivaled, dangerous buzzsaw. The diameter of the saw alone spans nearly 40 feet or 12 meters in length. That's roughly the same height as a 4-story building. Even though it looks exactly like one of those post-apocalyptic Mortal Engines machines, it won't be able to hunt you down. Due to its immense size, it moves at a snail's pace at just 1 mile every 3 hours. We've already seen what happens when you give a harvester legs. It's not pretty, but the truth is you don't have to slap on robotic limbs in order to up a harvester's intensity. These machines are already impressive enough on their own. Take the CR10.90 from New Holland, for example, the biggest combine that New Holland produces. With a 22-inch diameter cutting head and a new selling price of well over $700,000, this machine is no slouch. On August 15th of 2014, the beast was put to the test, and it didn't let its makers down, harvesting 29,308 bushels of wheat in less than 8 hours, absolutely obliterating the previous harvesting record. With a massive Kirster 16 engine under the hood, it boasts up to 700 horsepower on tap. Besides its color touchscreen control panel, there's one extreme feature that places it head and shoulders above the rest: a built-in drink cooler. What's the most impressive piece of machinery that you've ever seen with your own eyes? Share your stories in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, thank you so much for checking out The Richest. We'll see you next time. Have a great day. Stay safe.